Like many other athletes, at one point or another, you end up injured. And once you've injured a certain area of your body, it becomes the most likely next place for you to experience another injury. A lot of people just resort to saying, "Oh, I have a bad back," or "Oh, I have a bad hamstring." And you might, and it is going to be the next most likely thing for you to injure, but that's not an excuse to avoid improving. I recently finished my collegiate career in track and field, battling with hamstring injuries the entire time, to the point where it would just drive me absolutely crazy that I could not seem to stay healthy with it. And instead of getting frustrated at things that I felt were outside of my control, the solution instead is to take complete responsibility for your own body and take steps to improve it. I stand by the fact that education is the most important aspect of training. Understanding why you're training, what your training is doing, is all incredibly important in designing an effective program that you understand why it works. So after constantly dealing with bad hamstrings, I have devised my own nutritional and exercise program in order to effectively combat this and build back stronger than I ever was before. In my pre-workout shake for rehabilitation, I use collagen, L-Citrulline, and vitamin C, all three of which have been shown in research to improve tendon health. Now, as per the current research, digesting about 15 grams of collagen will take somewhere around 45 to 60 minutes. So I decide to use that time to address any soft tissue issues along my posterior chain. This can mean using a body tempering device such as the one seen here to roll out my calves and hamstrings, or it can also be used for a muscle scraper such as in the IASTM video that I made earlier on this year. The main goal of this is just to open up and warm up those areas of your body that are typically pretty resistant to being moved or stretched. Following that, I'll begin my FRC movements, or functional range conditioning movements. Shown here, I am doing pails and rails, which involves spending about 2 to 3 minutes stretching my hamstring in its lengthened position, and then applying an isometric force into the ground, so driving my immovable heel into the floor. Following building up that contraction, I will try and use the shortened tissue, in this case being the hip flexors mainly on top of my thigh, in order to contract and try and raise my heel off the ground, which results in some pretty nasty cramps. What this does do, however, is tells my central nervous system to open up this range of motion for me, and it'll allow me to access more of my hamstring during this rehabilitation session. Now that my hamstring has been fully mobilized, I will move into blood flow restriction training. And so here I'm using a voodoo band, which is an elastic band that will help cut off the blood flow, but they actually make really nice blood flow restriction cuffs to do this as well. The idea is by cutting off the blood flow coming to the working muscle, we are driving up the metabolic stress received by the muscle. Muscles grow either by mechanical loading or metabolic stress. And so by starting off my workout, by ramping up the amount of metabolic stress, I can get a pretty good workout in the hamstring without having to load it at all. Additionally, I'll sometimes turn my foot orientation inward or outward to specifically pull upon different heads of the hamstrings. Remember, your hamstrings are multiple muscles together. It's not just one bulk of tissue. You can do your BFR work weighted as well. I just simply choose not to. And so now that I have drastically driven up the metabolic demands of my hamstrings, I can now move on to stressing them in a different way. For me, that different way of training my hamstrings will be through slow eccentric Nordic hamstring curls. What this does is puts my hamstring into a very lengthened position as I try and slowly control my body weight down throughout this motion. As per the current research, using very slow eccentric lifts as well as isometric exercises is very effective at improving tendon quality of tissue and thickness of the tissue. Here I'm using eccentrics, but this could easily change in a different phase of my program. Okay, so what is overall simplified my plan for rebuilding my hamstring? First things first, I need to get the essential nutrients into my body. As those are digesting and working their way into my bloodstream to become readily available to the working ligaments, tendons, muscles of my body, I will start opening up additional range of motion in the hamstring. And that's by doing those FRC styled movements at the beginning. Now that I have opened up this additional range of motion and all of those nutrients that I took in the shake earlier on have digested and are readily available in my body, I'll start by doing the blood flow restriction exercises. Blood flow restriction exercises will increase the metabolic demand of the working tissue without the need for increasing mechanical load. So I'm able to cause more chemical stress to the muscle without needing to mechanically load it with extra weights. After completing this blood flow restriction, my hamstring is very pumped full of blood. It's very warm. I've raised the local muscle temperature. Now it's a good time to get into the slow eccentric loading. And after I finish that, hopefully within that 10 to 15 minute mark, I'm done. I wait about 6 hours before I'll do my actual training session, or sometimes I'll try and work on my hamstrings on a day when I'm training the upper body after, so I don't have to worry about that. But really, after you get in this small acute bout of focused attention, you just gotta rest. I'm not trying to act like my system for this is going to be superior to anything else. My hamstring's working, I can squat, I can deadlift, I can run. It's just not feeling like how it used to be. And I'm paranoid about the idea that I'm the most likely to re-injure my hamstring again. And frankly, I can't imagine going through that again. So, in a way to combat that, this is my protocol to try and make it borderline invincible from breaking down again. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm a post-collegiate athlete who just desperately does not want to be injured in the ways that impacted my life so heavily for the past few years. What I want this video to do is to show you that with an open mind and a desire to learn, there is so much research available out there that you can start applying to yourself. Take accountability for your own body, and together we can grow stronger. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.